Today's program is a colleague of mine, Alex Kolpikoff, and Alex has over 10 years of experience in transportation research, working as a research associate here at the Center for Urban Transportation Research in University of South Florida, and he's been managing a wide variety of transportation projects, ranging from economic impact analysis of transportation investments to aviation security projects, transportation policy analysis, and performs quantitative statistical analysis and econometric modeling. Alex holds a master's degree in economics from the University of South Florida and a bachelor's degree in business administration from Shivaj State University in Russia. Please welcome Alex Kolpikoff to address the topic of today's webinar, the development of a road jurisdiction policy that we were able to do using Pinellas County as our base. So, Alex, welcome.
Steve,
I'll turn things over to you.
Thank you for the introduction, Steve, and thank you, Jennifer. Good afternoon, everyone. Today's presentation will be about the project called Development of Pinellas County Roadway Jurisdiction Policy. I'll try to be brief and to the point so we can finish in a reasonable time. If you have any questions during the presentation, you can type them in right away, or you can hold on to them until the end. But in either case, we'll do the presentation first, and then we'll do the questions after that. A little background about this project. Well, the client for this project was Pinellas County Public Works Department, and initially the project was envisioned for the duration of 12 months, and it was scheduled to be completed in June of 2010. However, due to some unforeseen challenges with the data that we'll discuss later, the project was extended for an additional 6 months, and for a total of 18 months. So the total budget for this project was $123.4 thousand. The purpose of this study was to develop a policy proposal that would clarify jurisdictional responsibilities for traffic and road maintenance and suggest rational and consistent rules for assigning these responsibilities to best serve the citizens of Pinellas County. Well, that's how the purpose was defined in the scope. The idea was basically to develop a logical, simple, and fair policy that would make everyone happy. So it just barely came short of aiming to cure cancer and eradicate world hunger. So it was a pretty ambitious goal. The approach that we took involved the following steps. We had 7 tasks in the scope. So first, we wanted to document the current system characteristics, then collect required jurisdictional data, then review Florida statutes, policies, and ordinances to identify any potential legal conflicts and obstacles for the proposed policy. And after doing all that, the scope called for analyzing and summarizing the findings based on that, and then after that, developing the policy itself. And finally, the scope called for analyzing the impacts of the proposed policy and providing the report and the presentation to the county. We started with the data collection, and the county provided jurisdictional data in a GIS format covering roughly 56,000 unique road segments that are called GIDs. The data covered municipal boundaries in the county, the annexation planning boundaries, as well as road system information, inventory and location of traffic signals, and so forth. So there was a lot of data that needed to be merged and analyzed. The county also provided us 230 agreements between the county and municipalities, between FDOT and the county, between FDOT and municipalities, and so forth, covering all types of transactions like road transfers, signal maintenance, functional reclassification of roads, the ITS, and so forth. Some of the agreements were rather dated and convoluted. The agreements were going back to the 1970s, and reading and interpreting all those agreements were rather challenging and time-consuming, to be honest. From the very beginning of data collection, some significant issues with data became evident. The errors that were identified in the county's GIS data included such thing as missing road segments for all bridges over water, the violation of some topological rules, and as a consequence of that, the data had overlapping polygons of municipal and annexation boundaries. In some cases, there were also incorrect jurisdictional assignments of road segments, especially on the state highway system. And another notable issue was also that the location of traffic signals was not tied to road segments. Signal locations were defined by coordinates, by longitude and latitude, and very often they ended up off the intersection. All these errors in the data were causing some significant inconsistencies in the analytical calculation of the system mileage, as well as evaluation of policy scenarios. So all these data problems had to be addressed, in some cases manually. For example, in the case of annexation boundaries, we had to manually redraw the boundaries in our GIS software. In order to verify the accuracy and consistency of data, CUTR created the digital maps of each municipality for visual inspection. We linked the active agreements to the respective road segments, or as they call GIDs. This allowed to create digital maps of all roads covered by various agreements and overlay this map over the base map of the Pinellas County. Our GIS folks had to use their programming skills to address this many-to-many relationship between the road segments and agreements. Why many-to-many is because several agreements could apply to one road segment, and one agreement could also cover many road segments. A complicated database query script had to be created and applied to the database in order to retrieve and display only the latest agreements for each particular road segment, because the later agreements often overrode or amend the previous agreements, so we wanted only the latest agreement to show up. So handling the data required not only GIS capabilities, but also rather sophisticated programming skills. Once the maps were created and linked to the agreements, they were sent to all 24 municipalities for verification. We sent the paper maps, but we also provided the digital maps to municipalities that requested it. So some of the municipalities had the capability to view the maps on their computer, and they requested the GIS files, so that's what we did. The municipalities were given 3 weeks to review the accuracy of the data and to provide comments or corrections. We'll obviously also follow this mail out with email communication, trying to stay on top of things to make sure that people don't forget about this. Municipalities were asked to also provide proper documentation to back their corrections. So whenever they wanted to dispute anything that was displayed on the map, we asked them to provide some written document that would prove their words, either an agreement or a county survey or anything of that nature. And if they provided sufficient evidence that was not challenged by the county, then we made the corrections to the database. During this review process, CUTR received valuable input from 11 municipalities. In addition to working with the county staff and municipal officials, we also involved the help of the Pinellas County MPO and the FDOT District 7 for reviewing the maps to ensure that a set of data as complete as possible could be assembled, and also that we give an opportunity make sure that we give an opportunity to all the stakeholders to provide their input. In order to review the experience that other counties may have in dealing with the same jurisdictional issues, we also identified 3 counties as peers to Pinellas in the United States, and for the purpose of investigating their policies and practices. We identified the following counties: Maricopa County in Arizona, Broward County in Florida, and King County in Washington. All these counties have a similar number of incorporated municipalities, and they're, in that respect, they're similar to Pinellas County. They face similar challenges related to roadway maintenance and traffic jurisdiction. We looked at their annexation practices, the powers of the county versus the city, the assignment of jurisdiction over roads, maintenance responsibilities, and so forth. The goal of this investigation was to review the best practices and search for model roadway policy arrangement that can be applied in Pinellas County. In addition to the peer reviewer, we also did a rather thorough review of historic and current Florida statutes and laws that apply to roadway maintenance responsibility and traffic jurisdiction. Once all this preliminary work has been done, we could proceed to the analysis of the existing roadway system. Here's the summary of the Pinellas roadway system. The total road mileage is 4,491 center line miles, or 10,125 lane miles. Well, you can see that the majority of roads are public roads, about 84% if you measure it in terms of center line miles, or 86% if you measure it in terms of lane miles. And the vast majority of road mileage is located inside municipalities. It's about 70%. I will not read all the numbers. You can read them yourself. The first number gives the share of each system if measured in terms of center line miles, and the second number is if you measure in terms of lane miles. You can see that over half of all the mileage belongs to municipal roads. About a quarter of road mileage is county roads, followed by private and state roads. Let me briefly discuss the main issues that the Pinellas County has. Well, Pinellas County encompasses 24 municipalities in its boundary, with some cities actively annexing property and right-of-way. Over the years, annexations have caused confusion regarding jurisdiction of transportation facilities, creating numerous enclaves and contributing to the uncertainties regarding responsibility for operating and maintenance of roadways. County finds it very difficult and costly to provide county services in some remote enclaves, and all these complicates the provision of service to the citizens. Citizens often feel frustrated that it's not even clear what entity is responsible for providing the service. The lack of consistency in traffic jurisdiction, when cities claim responsibility for some things and then refuse to take responsibility for others, leads to different disagreements and legal disputes between the municipalities and the county. All this creates inconvenience for citizens, as I already mentioned. At the end of the day, they do not really care who's responsible, as long as somebody fixes the street light or puts a crosswalk where it needs to be. Municipalities are also often not very excited about increasing their, municipalities are usually excited about increasing the revenue base through annexation, but they're not as eager to assume the road maintenance responsibility. Consequently, counties often left with the expenses to maintain roadways, which the city annexed, while the city annexes the revenue side, which is the adjacent property around the road. In addition to these general issues that I just listed, there were a couple of more specific issues that I wanted to point out. The most notable one is related to the statewide functional reclassification of highway facilities as a result of the Act of Florida Legislature in 1977. The law 77-165 that was enacted in 77 revised the public road system, eliminating the secondary state highway system, and reclassified all public roads in the state. In accordance with that law, FDOT prepared the list of all the roads that were no longer considered the responsibility of the state. And over the period of from 1978 to 1982, these roads were transferred to counties and local jurisdiction. Well, back then, no formal agreement was required by law to transfer the jurisdiction of a road. Some roads were transferred by an agreement, while some others were transferred just by notification from FDOT. Well, therefore, the records of transfers are rather limited and often very inconsistent, especially if you look in different sources. You can find different discrepancies in the records. It wasn't until 1995 when all the road transfers were required to be by mutual agreement, but the transactions that happened before that were not required to be done by a formal agreement. The second notable issue is sidewalk maintenance, which is related to the issue of functional reclassification. Pinellas County is in disagreement with some municipalities regarding what entity is responsible for maintaining sidewalks along county roads that are located within municipal limits. The county believes that all the roads that were transferred to the county from the secondary state system as part of functional reclassification were transferred curb to curb and did not include the sidewalks. So therefore, the county should not be responsible for maintaining these roads or these sidewalks. Well, cities disagree with that position since there's no explicit mention of a curb-to-curb intent in the initial functional reclassification law. And well, county's position is based on the interpretation of relevant statutes from 1979 and 1993 that state that are viewed also in historic context of functional reclassification legislation. And these both statutes in 1979 and 1993 excluded the sidewalks from the responsibility of the county. Well, but then it gets more complicated because in 1993, that statute in 95, the statute that was passed in 1993 was repealed, and but the county believes that this should not have changed the jurisdiction over sidewalks as it existed at the time of the repeal. So this issue is rather complicated and has a long legal history. I do not pretend to be a lawyer, but had to dig deeper into this. And I won't bore you anymore with all these legal details and interpretations. I'll just add one thing that in 2008, the Florida Attorney General gave his legal opinion regarding this issue, and he supported the county's position that the county is not responsible for maintaining the sidewalks along those roads that were previously functionally reclassified. But regardless of that, the disagreement between the county and municipalities about this issue is still continues, and as a result, in many cases, sidewalks are not maintained at all by anybody. The Pinellas County Public Works requested that CUTR develop a roadway policy that would address the above issues and assist in resolving the conflicts between the jurisdiction. The following goals were identified for the proposed policy. The policy would need to simplify and clarify the system of jurisdiction to better provide services to the citizens and facilitate understanding between the county and municipalities. The policy would have to ensure a logical road network, recognizing the importance and efficiency of network connectivity. The policy needs to be equitable or perceived as fair in the way it treats different jurisdictions. And the policy also needs to recognize that all transfers of the existing responsibility must be in accordance with the current Florida statutes, which means that they have to be by mutual agreement. Finally, policy needs to be sensitive to cost implication that needs to minimize cost burdens associated with it. So in the ideal world, preferably the policy should be cost neutral. In addition, the policy also needs to be politically viable and may involve compromise. This last item is very important when you deal with multiple entities that would have to agree to adopt the policy. An example of a trade-off responsibilities that may be a part of this compromise during the negotiation is presented here. For example, a county may agree to take responsibility of sidewalk maintenance in exchange for additional street maintenance from municipalities. There were three potential strategies to implement the policy that we identified. One would be by master agreement between all municipalities and the county. Second would be by a separate agreement with the county and each municipality. And third would be by an individual agreement for each individual road transfer. But the implementation strategy was beyond the scope of this analysis, the study, so therefore no further research or suggestions were made to the county regarding that. We just stated that these are the strategies that they may involve, but the choice of which one is going to work better is totally up to the Pinellas County. Now I'll discuss in more detail the roadway jurisdiction policy that was developed by CUTR and that we suggested to the Pinellas County. We developed 22 specific policy items that define the rules for assigning roadway maintenance responsibility. I will not list the actual policies as this will take too much time, but I'll rather mention the main principles that we used in the policy to determine the assignment of jurisdiction. The factors that were used to assign jurisdiction of roadway include such thing as functional classification of the facility, the percentage of road length that lies inside or outside of municipality, the function of the road, the previous maintenance responsibility, proximity to other county facilities that serve a similar function, whether the road serves as evacuation or truck route. And the policy also specified that the transfer of jurisdiction should not create an enclave. With any rules, there are exceptions. So in this case, the exceptions from the jurisdictional rule were provided when a change in jurisdiction of the road would interfere with access to county significant facility, or when it would disrupt the continuity and consistency of the system, or also some exceptions were possible for roads that pass through special redevelopment districts or downtowns, because municipalities typically prefer to maintain jurisdiction of these roads. The policy specifies that annexation implies a full transfer of maintenance and jurisdictional responsibility of the road. And finally, the policy requires that all jurisdictional transfer of roads shall include all right-of-way elements such as roadbeds, sidewalks, median, drainage, ditches, and everything that comes with it, retaining walls, ponds. Here are a couple of examples of the specific policies that were suggested, just to give you an idea. One would be, let's say, a non-state minor arterial or a collector with more than 50% of its total length outside a municipal boundary should be county's jurisdiction. Or second one would be a non-state minor arterial or collector with less than 50% of its total length outside a municipal boundary should be county maintained for the portion outside the boundary and for the portion inside the municipal boundary extending to an intersection with a roadway of equal or greater classification. The idea is that the jurisdiction of the road should not change immediately at the border of the municipality, but should terminate at the intersection with the roadway of equal or greater classification, just for the system continuity. As I mentioned earlier, I will not list all the specific policy items. It will be too time-consuming and I think adds little value to the current presentation. What's more interesting, in my opinion, is to look at the system implications of implementing those policies. In the analysis, we considered several scenarios of policy application, including the application of policy alone and in combination with continued annexation. In addition to the base case scenario, which represented the current system, we also defined three other scenarios. Scenario A includes implementation of the policy alone, and B provides for full annexation by all municipalities all the way to their annexation planning boundaries, and no policy implementation. So this represents just annexation alone. And scenario C considers both full annexation by municipalities and the implementation of the policy. The total cost implications of the policy were calculated using the maintenance cost per lane mile of roughly $4,100 a year. This figure was the average maintenance cost for county-maintained roads in Pinellas County for the fiscal year of 2009. Well, here's the split in jurisdiction of roads in the current system. As you can see, about 52% of centerline miles are municipal roads, almost 25% county roads, 16% are private roads, and 6% are state roads. There are also some other minor classifications like the park roads, airport roads, and unknowns. As you can see, they create a little bit of a noise because that's how they were coded in the system. But we kept them in. They are pretty insignificant, so they do not affect much the overall view of the system. So now let's look at how these scenarios discussed earlier will affect the current system. Now, scenario A that provides for implementing the policy. It does not cause a drastic change in mileage for both county and municipal road systems. County center line mileage increases by less than 1%, and the lane mileage increases by 1.3% as a result of implementing the policy. Only 8 out of 24 municipalities are impacted by the policy. With the rest of municipalities, we'll see no difference at all. In terms of cost impacts, the county total roadway maintenance costs are expected to increase by roughly $136,000 a year as a result of implementing the policy. And the maximum increase in roadway maintenance for an individual municipality is $75,000 a year. Oh, and by the way, not all municipalities will see the increase in roadway maintenance. Some of them will see a decrease in maintenance. Some of them will be unaffected. But the ones that will see the increase, the largest increase, is $75,000 a year. So you can see that these results indicate that the proposed policy is virtually cost neutral. So it doesn't create large outlays of money from either side. So this is the breakdown of mileage of the projected system with implementing the new policy. There's no visible difference in the chart compared to the current system. So you can see that municipal roads are still around 53%. The about quarter of roads are county roads, and private and state roads obviously are not affected by the policy, so they stay the same as well. Now, scenario B provides just for annexation and no policy implementation. So under scenario B, there is no change in jurisdiction of the roads. The only change is the location of these roads. Well, as a result of full annexation, the road mileage inside municipal boundaries will increase by 535 centerline miles or 1,171 lane miles. The road mileage located in unincorporated areas will respectively decrease by the same amount. There will be no change in mileage for each road system, so therefore there is no change in the maintenance cost. So this only shows you that the roads that were previously located in unincorporated areas are now going to be located inside municipalities. Under scenario C, if we do full annexation and implement the policy, the county road mileage is projected to decrease by 357 central line miles and about 700 lane miles. The municipal road mileage is expected to increase by about 375 center line miles and 737 lane miles. Notice the slight discrepancy between the increases in municipal mileage and the decrease in the county mileage. Well, this difference is due to some data problems that I mentioned earlier, and particularly the overlap in municipal boundaries, etc. So that creates some double counting at the calculation algorithm. Well, fortunately, it wasn't very, very significant. So, but you could see that there is still some discrepancy there. Overall, under scenario C, the county's roadway maintenance costs are expected to decrease by roughly $2.9 million a year. Not all municipalities will be impacted equally. Well, under scenario C, 12 municipalities will see an increase in their roadway maintenance budgets. 4 municipalities will reduce their maintenance costs, and the remaining 8 will see no change in their maintenance expenditures. 6 municipalities are projected to have an increase in road maintenance costs in excess of $100,000 a year, so a pretty sizable increase. The largest increase in roadway maintenance for an individual municipalities projected about $710,000 a year. Few large cities such as Seminole, Largo, Clearwater are expected to gain more than 100 miles each as a result of annexation. I mean, these are the cities that have probably the most aggressive annexation plans, so there's no surprise there. And these cities also account for over 60% of the overall increase in roadway maintenance costs for all cities as a result of this implementing this scenario C. Here is a projected system with annexation and policy implementation. You can see that there is a change from the current system. In the current system, the municipal mileage was about 52%. Now it's jumped to 61%, and the county mileage decreased from 25% to 16%. And well, private roads and state roads stay unaffected. But you can see that there is some significant change. So far, we looked only at roadway maintenance costs. Now we can look at how each scenario affects the cost associated with maintaining of traffic signals. For both scenario A and C, the number of signals under the jurisdiction of municipalities is projected to decrease. Well, that's what the policies call for. The number of signals under the county jurisdiction is projected to increase respectively by 245 signals for scenario A and 247 signals for scenario C. So as a result, under these both scenarios A and C, the signal maintenance cost for the county is projected to increase by approximately $770,000 a year. While all municipalities on the other side will realize the traffic signal maintenance cost savings that will range from anywhere from $3,000 to $160,000 a year. So if we look at the total impacts of implementing the policy, including both roadway maintenance and traffic signal maintenance, the decrease in total maintenance costs will be realized for 17 out of the 24 municipalities. So the decrease will range from insignificant $3,000 a year to rather noticeable $200,000 a year. 6 municipalities will see no change in their maintenance budget. and only one municipality will have an increase in maintenance costs as a result of implementing the policy. So you could see that while there are some losers in this policy, most of the municipalities actually gain, and as I said, there is actually going to be only one municipality that's going to lose as a result of this policy. The county's total maintenance costs are expected to increase by roughly $900,000 a year, and this is mainly due to increase in signal maintenance. That was in case of implementing just the policy. Now, if we implement the policy and allow the old municipalities to annex all the way to their annexation planning boundaries, the total maintenance costs are expected to increase for 11 municipalities, with the largest increase of about $641,000 a year. And maintenance costs will decrease for 9 municipalities, with the largest decrease of about $101,000 a year, while 4 municipalities will remain unaffected. Once again, here we have more municipalities that are going to be losing in this, but we still see that the majority of municipalities would either be neutral or will gain from this policy. Well, under the scenario of annexation and policy implementation, the total maintenance costs, including roadway and signal maintenance, for the Pinellas County is projected to decrease by about $2.1 million a year. So this is a very significant gain for the Pinellas County. As could be expected, the scenario that involves policy implementation and annexation has higher cost impacts than the scenario with just the policy. So that's why we see these larger numbers than compared to the previous one when we just talked about no annexation and just implementing the policy. Looking back on this project, I can say that it was pretty challenging, but yet very interesting effort. This project was very data intensive. Our GIS folks lost their sleep over handling the GIS data, which wasn't perfect, to say the least. Dealing with bad data was a big challenge that set us back significantly, and complicated data programming techniques had to be involved to manipulate the data the way we wanted it, and it took us a long time to test and troubleshoot the database script to make sure that it performed correctly. It was especially difficult due to the fact that the input data wasn't always consistent. So these are the challenges I wanted to highlight again. And so due to all these factors, the project was very difficult. But in the end, I believe that we delivered a useful product to the county. And there are a couple of conclusions or observations, that, if you should say, that we can make from this. One, that data integrity is absolutely crucial for the robustness of the analysis. It's very hard to do any kind of analysis without good data, and our experience tells us that only because the data is available doesn't mean that it's easily manipulated and analyzed. So high quality data is the key. And finally, the second one, that we clearly see a need for a documented roadway jurisdiction policy in some of the areas with a high rate of annexation. So such policy needs to be clear, transparent, and consistent to ensure that local governing bodies understand it and follow the rules. Well, this concludes our today's presentations, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Jen, do you want to give our participants a little primer on the Q&A manager?
Sure, Steve. Once again, click Q&A in your top menu bar, type your question in the white box, and then click the Ask button. The word Ask is a button. So click that, and we'll receive your question, and then Steve can present that to Alex, and you'll be able to hear it answered.
Okay, well, a couple people figured it out already. And Alex, here's a question that says, or it asks, which of the suggested policy recommendations do you feel are the most important?
Well, I think the goal for these policies were to work as a system. You can't really pull out one without and pretend that it's the most important one. I think the most important one is to have a system of rules that work together to make sure that I guess all avenues are covered, so that it leaves no loopholes, that it's consistent and clear and understood by everybody. So I really can't answer which one is the best one. I think all of them are pretty important because they work together.
Well, that's an answer. That's an answer. Another question: are there lessons learned in the study that might be useful for other counties or cities?
Sure. Of course. That's from what we saw. As I said, in many places, especially when there is a high growth and high annexation rate, these rules of how the jurisdiction is transferred these rules are either unwritten rules, so they do exist, but they're not documented and they're not very easily understood. So I think the key is that you have to make sure that you have these rules documented, that they are clear and that everybody knows them, because otherwise when you have multiple municipalities trying to annex at the same time, and this creates all kinds of different problems. So, but yeah, I do think that some of those, even the policy items that were specifically directed at the Pinellas County, could be applicable to different jurisdictions, to different geographic areas as well.
Okay, thank you. Please, I'd encourage anyone listening to submit questions. Are there any closing remarks, Alex, that you'd like to make?
No, I think I pretty much said everything that I wanted to.
Well, I'll give a few more minutes for anyone to weigh in with a question. But in the meantime, I see. Well, we did get another question here. Alex, the question is, how long did it take you to complete this work?
It took us 18 months to do the whole thing, but keep in mind that the 18 months, big chunk of time was actually spent on figuring out the data, fixing the data that we had, because the data was not perfect. So the actual analysis, I would say, was probably done in less than a year, but the rest of it was trying to figure out the data.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other questions, again, we sincerely appreciate your participation. We look forward to having you at future CUTR webinars. And Jen, if there are a few closing remarks you'd like to make, we appreciate the opportunity to have made this presentation.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, I just would like to remind our audience to please complete the evaluation that is up on your screen. This is something we use, obviously, to plan our future webcasts and do some topics that will be of interest to you. We've also applied for continuing maintenance credit through the American Institute of Certified Planners, and this evaluation is a part of that process. So if you are seeking that credit, you'll definitely want to do this. Our next webcast is scheduled for 2 weeks from today, which is February 7th, and we're still working out that topic. But you should receive some updated information through email. So once again, I'd like to thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you at future webcasts. Have a good afternoon.